Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be dyeing my ResinSoul Fei. Now this is the first time I've ever dyed any resin products, so it'll be an experiment, but hopefully it goes well. So as you can see, I've got doll parts all cleaned, separated, ready to go. And I've got the gloves there just so the oils from my hands don't get on them while I move them around. I've got a bowl of tippet water in a stainless steel bowl for setting and after they're dyed. Just to soak while I dye the other pieces. And some alcohol to do a quick rub down after while we rinse them. And as you can see from my setup, lots of newspaper, lots of tin foil, probably a little overkill, but I've heard that the dye likes to disperse into the air a lot, so I'm trying to keep things from staining as much as possible, as the fiance would probably not be too thrilled. And yes, you can hear my cat, who thinks he needs something every time we're in the kitchen. Anyway, moving on. So I have my dye. It's Rit Dyemore, not the original Rit, as I've seen some horror stories from that. I've got some gloves. I'm going to be using a fish net, just the aquarium net, to be able to dunk them in. It's not as big as I hoped, so hopefully it'll work out. And then a bamboo stick, which is actually going to be used for the experiment of making her wig, but I got a whole pack of them, so I figured it'd be good to use just to stir up the dye a little bit. I'm going to start with the head cap, as far as I know, anybody that I've read on DOA that's used the net, it doesn't leave the imprint of the mesh on there, but I want to make sure. If that happens, I do have some cotton thread, some cotton yarn to use to be able to dip them after, but hopefully we won't have to do that. But I'm going to get the dye and the water into the pot and get it boiling, and I'll be back. Alright, so we have the water at a pretty good rolling boil. Not sure if you can really see with all the steam, which I have to say took forever. But I did remember that I forgot to mention the type of pot being used. For the Dyemore dyes, as I was told by the absolutely wonderful American seamstress on DOA, it doesn't really matter. I've chosen a sort of stoneware type, which weighs a ton, but just to avoid any possible metal problems. If you are using other types of dye, make sure that you're using stainless steel, which is why I chose the stainless steel bowl, just to make sure there's no interference with the metals with the dye. But as I said, the Dyemore doesn't really matter what type of pot you use, but I just wanted to be on the safe side. So now that we've got the water at a pretty good boil, I'm going to test the head cap, and hopefully things are hot enough. And this way I can gauge how long it needs to sit in the dye to get the color that I want. So I'm going to go back and forth here counting, and hopefully we'll have a nice dye resin when we're done, and I can continue on with the other pieces. So here we go. Alright, so I've had the head cap in the dye for about a minute. It's not very dark. The downside I'm seeing too with using the fishing net is it likes to float up while I'm trying to keep the piece down, but I will angle that a little bit better as I dip it back in. I think I'm going to turn the temperature up a little bit, and hopefully we'll have some really dark black soon. Alright, we have now had the head cap in for about another minute and a half, and hard to tell with the steam again. But we have a very, very nice black. So I'm going to dump this into the bowl. You can see there, a lot of purple coming out in it. But it is a very, very nice black. I'm going to continue on with the other pieces, and hopefully everything still goes as planned when I go to rinse. And I will be back. Alright, so I've got all pieces dyed. They're in the bowl, which is just a black mess right now, but that's from having the net in there because a lot of the dye sticks to it and rinses out in it. I hope, anyway. I'm gonna let this sit for a bit so it's cool enough. That's not too bad. But so the pieces are cool enough to pick out and make sure everyone's dyed evenly. So I want you to take a look here. You see that ring around the top of the pot? Yeah, that's where the water started, and that's where we are now. I am going to keep this. I've got the heat off now, but I'm going to keep it just in case I need to re-dye any pieces if something didn't go perfect on them. I just add some more water and just means it has to wait a little bit longer in the dye, but it'll still work. So I'm going to wait for that to cool down for a bit, and I will pick out some pieces and we'll be back. Alright, so I've let things cool for a little while. Everything's nice and cold to the touch so I don't burn myself. The only reason I'm wearing gloves right now is so I don't end up dyeing my hands or something crazy. But let's see how we've turned out. Alright, everything looks to be a nice, good, solid black, which is awesome. So I'm going to take the pieces out, drain a bit of the water, and rinse. And then do a quick, very, very light rub down with the alcohol to make sure I've got everything clean. And so I'm going to do that quickly, and then I'll be back. Okay, so unfortunately my battery's dying, so I don't have a flash anymore. But as you can see, she's all rinsed and wiped off, and is a gorgeous black. To me, the hands look like they might be a little off shade. It's hard to tell right now. I'm going to let them dry and decide if they need another dip. When I was wiping with the alcohol, as you can see, some color does come off, but don't panic. It's just sort of the extra that's sitting on top of the resin. And I recommend personally using something with two sides like this. So you wipe down with one side, and then once you go to the other side, you'll be able to have a clean side to be able to tell when you've got all the extra off. So all I did was I rinsed everybody off in cold water, and then I wiped down with the alcohol and the sponges, and then gave a quick wash. I use this, Green Works. It's all natural, no extra colors, no dyes, no moisturizers and things in it. And then just rinsed the soap off, and now I'm gonna go sit her to dry in the other room. So I will be back in a moment. Alright, so I've got her all set up to dry. Sorry about the background noise, it's the heater in the room. And as you can see, no streaks. Everything looks to be dyed pretty uniform. Her hands still look a little off to me, but it might just be because they're still wet, so I'm going to let that wait for a bit. But yeah, I'd say this project was a success, and I am very happy with the outcome. I'm going to let her dry here probably overnight, just to make sure everything is nice and dry before I go to spray her, so I can actually start building this character. So thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.